Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my humble casa, my humble home here in Livingston, Montana. Okay, before I get started here, let me have a little sip of coffee, please. I know this is bad manners. That's just to wet the whistle so I'm not spitting all over everything. Okay, today's date is January 10th of 2021. I'm glad I didn't say 2020. I haven't said that since the beginning of the new year. But anyway, earlier today, this day, the 10th of January, the wife and I were sitting out in my living room and stuff, and we got to talking about politics and this COVID-19 virus and all this. And the wife had informed me my wife is a lot more socially informed than I am, just because that's the way she is. Me, I don't have any, so I don't use social media. But anyway, the wife was telling me that the school system here in Park County, which Livingston's the county seat, they stopped running kids to school. They stopped the bus services because they have determined that the school bus services were being a source of this COVID-19. And I thought, this is a bunch of nonsense, but that's just me. So anyway, it got me to thinking about my grade school years and whatnot because I think this is mostly affecting the grade school kids and like that. But I told the wife, I said, by God, I can remember when I was a kid living up in the Mission Valley, I used to have to walk 1.5 miles to get to the bus stop. And I'm talking about we lived way out in the country, in between this small town called Boren, Montana, and this place called Puberty, Montana. And that's where I was going to grade school at the time. And when my folks moved out and took over this ranch place, they were renting it, and stuff like that, I didn't really want to change schools, so I kept going to Puberty while the bus didn't run all the way to where this place was that my folks was renting, And matter of fact, like I say, I had to walk 1.5 miles. If you was to walk by the roadway, and you had to go down 0.5 mile or so or whatever have you to this four-way, and then you hung a left and you went down another mile, and there's where the bus stop was. They wouldn't come clear up to the house and all that kind of stuff. Well, what I used to do to save time is I'd cut right straight across all the hay fields and alfalfa fields and all that stuff to get to the bus stop. You know what I mean? Instead of going down the road like this, I just, what's the fastest way from point A to point B? Well, it's a straight line, and that's what I did, across these fields and whatnot have you. Okay, this one particular day, I come up to an electric fence, and I was pretty wary. I was pretty on top of things. I pretty much knew what an electric fence was. I know because the ranchers around there used to make us kids go underneath that thin little wire. You guys know how electric fences work, But we used to have to go knock down the weeds and stuff so the weeds wouldn't come up and be hanging on that thin little wire, and grounded out the electric fence. And what those electric fences were for is to keep their horses and cattle confined. Because if a cow got too close to the fence and leaned up against that thin wire with it, on every post there was an insulator, and then the wire went down to another post, there was another insulator, and went all around the property like this until it went into some barn or shed or something, into a little generation box, an electric generation box that generated it was only like 25 volts DC if I remember right, but the amperage was up there quite a bit, a couple good 2 or 3 amps, Well, the way that these doggone boxes worked, I know, as I grew up and I started learning more and more about the ranching, but back in right in this particular setting, I was kind of dumb, okay? But the way that these things would work is they would send out a pulse of electricity about every minute or so, every minute and a half, something like that, maybe every 2 minutes, and the pulse would last about, I don't know, I'm going to say about 20 to 30 seconds, okay? And then it would stop. And then, like a minute or two would go by, and another blast would come all the way around the perimeter, so to speak, trying to keep because if you got in the way of this little jolt of electricity, cows included, horses included, and everything, it would it'd cause you to do this kind of thing, there. But it really wasn't strong enough to kill you, but it was definitely strong enough to make anything want to back away from this, this system called electric fences for animals and humans and every other thing. Well, this one particular day, being uneducated, not like I explained it right now, because once I started growing up on the ranches, I started installing electric fences and different things like this, so I knew a lot more about it. But I was in a hurry one day trying to get to the bus stop and whatnot have you, and I grabbed onto this electric fence as I was trying to pole vault over the fence or whatever have you, and I got zapped. That's the basis of this story. That's the bottom line here. And I really got a feel of that old DC voltage, with 25 volts and a couple of amps. It's really enough to wake you up, And so one day I don't want to say who this was, because I'm pretty sure I remember exactly who it was, but just in case I don't have my facts right, there was a relative of mine with me, and we were headed to school, and we were doing something anyway, but we might even not been heading to school. We could have been doing something else. We could have been out there just goofing around in that field, because back in them days, everything was free and open, and nobody got uptight about trespassing and crap like they do now. But this family member of mine and we were out in this field for whatever reason, and we came up to this electric fence, and I got this brilliant idea. Actually, I should have been probably flogged for this idea, but some of you know about this kind of stuff because you've done it yourself. But well, maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But this relative of mine, I says, hey, look, I said, you see this stupid little wire right here, with the little white insulators and stuff like that? I says, this is a magic wire. I remember dreaming up the biggest lie that, known to man. And I'm not sure even what my lie was, but it was something along the lines of, hey, I tell you what, you got to take a leak. Guys know what I mean. Come on, urine, I said, I told this relative of mine, I said, what you need to do is relieve yourself right on this wire. This wire is magic. It will make sure you grow up to be a strong young man and all of this stuff. I made it sound very, I don't know, I made it sound like you're finding a gold mine here. And I remember specifically, this relative of mine looked at me and goes, now, this relative of mine was a few years younger than me and very naive, and he goes, I think that these wires are for like shocking you or something. And I told this relative, I said, look, power only comes down here once an hour or something like that. You're perfectly fine. Just go ahead and, be blessed or whatever lie I dreamed up. And I said, just take and, water your little, wiener on this fence right here, and glorious things are going to happen to you. I don't remember, ladies and gentlemen, exactly what I said, but I built this thing up. So there I got this relative of mine, and everything went all right for about the first 5 seconds, of him, dancing around there in front of this electric fence, and pretty soon that old time pulse came down there and zapped him, and he's like, and I told him, I said, you feel the power, brother? You feel the power? Did anybody get a kick out of that? Probably not. But this individual stopped talking to me for about a week and, hated my guts. And that's what kind of a heathen I was when I was younger, I just felt led today, ladies and gentlemen. That's the end of the story, but I found me a victim. And back when I was a young buck and everything, when I'd find a victim to my pranks, they were in a lot of trouble because I was a clown, a jokester, a practical joke kind of a person. Whatever here, Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I got 10 minutes here. Good, that's good. I'm going to get off of here. Have a nice day. I hope you got a chuckle out of that. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I don't know. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you on down the trail. And adios, my friends.